The conference room at Sterling Tech Industries occupied the entire 15th floor of the downtown skyscraper, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering views of the city skyline. I sat in the back corner wearing my usual Target jeans and a simple sweater, while my brother Marcus stood at the front in his custom Italian suit, gesturing dramatically at the presentation screen. Quarterly revenue exceeded projections by 18%, Marcus announced proudly, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who'd never questioned his place in the world. Under my leadership as CEO, Sterling Tech has become the premier software solutions provider in the region. I watched him present, sipping my coffee from a paper cup I'd brought from the street vendor downstairs. The other attendees, venture capitalists, investment fund managers and board members, sat in leather chairs around the massive mahogany table, their attention fixed on Marcus's presentation. "Excuse me," a security guard approached my corner seat. "This meeting is for shareholders and board members only. I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Before I could respond, Marcus turned from his presentation, his eyes landing on me with unmistakable irritation. "David, what are you doing here?" "I was invited," I said simply, keeping my voice level. Marcus's face flushed. "This is a shareholders' meeting. For investors. People with actual stakes in the company." He looked at the security guard. "My brother works at a coffee shop. He must have gotten confused about the location." "Actually, I work at a bookstore," I corrected mildly. "And I'm supposed to be here." "This is for serious investors only," Marcus said loudly, his voice taking on that mocking tone I'd heard countless times growing up. "Not minimum wage workers. This is embarrassing, David. These people manage portfolios worth hundreds of millions. They don't have time for whatever game you're playing." Several board members exchanged uncomfortable glances. A woman in a designer suit whispered something to the man beside her. "Perhaps we should continue," the board chairman, Richard Chin, began from his position at the head of the table. "No, I'm sorry about this," Marcus interrupted, walking toward me. "David has always had this problem with boundaries. He doesn't understand how business works." He turned to address the room. "My little brother thinks because we're family he can just show up to corporate meetings. It's honestly kind of sad." I remained seated, taking another sip of my coffee. I received an official invitation from the corporate secretary. "That must have been a mistake," Marcus said, his jaw tight. "Look around this room, David. Everyone here controls significant capital. They're venture capitalists, investment fund managers, board directors. What do you control? A cash register at a bookstore." "Marcus," Richard Chin said more firmly. "We should really—" "I'm the CEO of this company," Marcus cut him off. "And I'm telling you, my brother doesn't belong here. He earns maybe $30,000 a year shelving books. The people in this room manage 9-figure portfolios." A man in a gray suit spoke up. "I'm uncomfortable with this. Perhaps we should verify the attendance list." "There's nothing to verify," Marcus insisted. "David wasn't even supposed to know about this meeting. How did you find out?" He looked at me accusingly. "Did you go through my email? Is that it?" "The corporate secretary sent me a formal invitation 2 weeks ago," I said calmly, "along with the agenda and quarterly reports." Marcus laughed, the sound harsh in the elegant conference room. "The corporate secretary sent you, a bookstore clerk, an invitation to a shareholders' meeting? Do you hear how insane that sounds?" "Perhaps there's been an administrative error," a woman suggested diplomatically. "These things happen." "The only error was David thinking he belongs in rooms like this," Marcus said. "This is exactly like when we were kids. He always wanted to be involved in things above his level. Dad used to say David had champagne dreams on a beer budget." He shook his head. "Except now it's more like champagne dreams on a minimum wage budget." The board members shifted uncomfortably. A few checked their phones, clearly eager to move past the awkward confrontation. "I'm not leaving," I said quietly. "I have every right to be here." "Right?" Marcus's voice rose. "You have no rights here. This is my company. I built this. You stock books for a living and live in a studio apartment." He turned to Richard Chin. "Call building security. Have him removed." "Marcus," Richard said carefully, "I really think we should." "Yow," Marcus commanded. "I'm the CEO. This is my meeting. And I want my deadbeat brother removed before he embarrasses me further." I set down my coffee cup. I'm not embarrassing you, Marcus. You're doing that yourself. Oh, that's rich coming from someone who still uses public transportation, Marcus sneered. When was the last time you even had a real job? One with benefits, a career path. He addressed the room again. My brother is 32 years old and has never made more than $35,000 a year. He has no investments, no portfolio, no assets. He rents. He takes the bus. And somehow he thinks he belongs in a meeting with people who manage hundreds of millions in capital. I manage more than you think, I said. Marcus laughed again. What, you have a savings account with $5,000 in it? Maybe a 401k with a few $100s? That's adorable, David. Really. But this is a shareholders meeting for Sterling Tech Industries, a company valued at $320 million. Your little nest egg doesn't qualify. Marcus, please. Richard Chin stood up, his expression serious. We really need to. I'm handling it, Marcus interrupted. David, I'm going to say this once more. Leave. No. Before I have you forcibly removed. These people are serious investors. They don't have time for your delusions. What delusions? I asked calmly. That you're some kind of businessman. Marcus exploded. You work retail. You've worked retail your entire adult life. Dad was right about you. No ambition, no drive, no understanding of how real success works. You're content stocking shelves and going home to your tiny apartment. Dad said a lot of things, I replied evenly. And he was right about most of them, especially about you, Marcus said. Do you know what he told me before he died? He said, Marcus, you're the successful one. You're the one who'll carry on the family legacy. David will always be ordinary. The words hung in the air. Several board members looked away. That's enough, Richard Chin said, his voice firm now. Marcus, sit down. David, please stay exactly where you are. Excuse me. Marcus turned to him. I'm the CEO. And I'm the board chairman, Richard interrupted. And we have a serious problem here that you've just made considerably worse. What problem? Marcus demanded. The problem is my brother crashing a shareholders' meeting. The problem, Richard said, is that your brother is a shareholder. In fact, he's the shareholder. The room fell silent. Marcus stared at Richard. What are you talking about? Richard pressed a button on the table's control panel. The presentation screen behind Marcus changed from his quarterly report to a different document. David Fitzgerald currently owns 68% of Sterling Tech Industries through a series of investment vehicles and trust structures. He has been the company's majority stakeholder for the past 7 years. The blood drained from Marcus's face. That's impossible. The board chairman interrupted. Meet your company's 68% stakeholder. My portfolio statement appeared on the screen. The document on display showed my name at the top, followed by a detailed breakdown of my holdings. Fitzgerald Investment Trust, 45% of Sterling Tech Cascade Capital LLC, 15% of Sterling Tech Northern Ventures Partnership, 8% of Sterling Tech Total, 68% ownership. This is a joke, Marcus said, but his voice had lost its confidence. It's not a joke, said a man at the table I recognized as Stephen Walsh from Goldman Sachs. I manage 2 of those investment vehicles. David Fitzgerald has been one of our most significant clients for nearly a decade. That's impossible, Marcus repeated. David works at a bookstore. I own the bookstore, I said quietly, along with 6 others in the metro area. I bought them 8 years ago as a hobby investment. They generate about $200,000 annually in passive income, but that's not where most of my wealth comes from. Marcus looked like he might be sick. Perhaps I should explain, Richard Chin said. 7 years ago, Sterling Tech needed a major capital infusion to expand operations. Your father approached numerous investors, but the terms they offered were unfavorable. David stepped in through his investment managers and provided $85 million in exchange for equity stakes structured through multiple entities. $85 million? Marcus whispered. Your brother's total portfolio is currently valued at approximately $420 million, Stephen Walsh added. Sterling Tech represents his largest single holding, but he has significant positions in real estate, technology startups, and venture funds. How? Marcus managed. That stock tip Dad gave me when I was 22. I said. You remember? He told both of us about that biotech company his friend was launching. You said it was too risky, that you'd rather invest in established companies. I put in everything I had, $12,000 from working retail jobs through college. Celadrin Therapeutics, Richard Chin supplied. The company went public 18 months later. David's $12,000 became approximately $8 million. I reinvested intelligently, I continued. Worked with good advisors. Made some excellent angel investments in tech startups. One of them was acquired by Google for $300 million. My stake was worth $42 million after that deal closed. Marcus gripped the edge of the table. This whole time, when I was telling you about my promotion to CEO, when I was bragging about my salary. Your salary of $350,000 a year, which I approved, Richard Chin said. As majority stakeholder, David has the right to review and approve all executive compensation. You approved my salary? Marcus looked at me, his expression shattered. The board recommended you for CEO, I said. I agreed. You're good at operations, Marcus. You've grown the company effectively. The board was happy with your performance. Until today, Richard Chin said gravely. David, I apologize for not intervening sooner. When Marcus began insulting you, I should have. It's fine, I said. I wanted to hear what he really thought. Why? Marcus asked hoarsely. Why didn't you tell me? I tried, I said. Remember 3 years ago when I offered to help you buy that house you wanted? You said you didn't need handouts from your loser brother. 2 years ago I suggested we grab coffee to discuss something important. You canceled 4 times and eventually told me to stop bothering you during business hours. But you let me think. I let you think what you wanted to think, I said. You assumed because I wore regular clothes and worked at a bookstore that I was unsuccessful. You never asked about my life. You just assumed. A woman at the table spoke up, Jennifer Morrison from the venture capital firm. I've worked with David for 6 years. He's one of the most astute investors I've encountered. His returns have consistently outperformed market indexes by significant margins. David specifically requested that his involvement with Sterling Tech remain confidential, Richard Chin explained. He didn't want family dynamics to affect business operations. He wanted you to succeed on your own merits as CEO, not because of family connections. But you just let me humiliate myself, Marcus said. You humiliated yourself, I corrected gently. I sat quietly in the corner. You chose to make assumptions and voice them publicly. Stephen Walsh cleared his throat. For the record, David's portfolio is managed across 3 separate investment firms. We handle approximately $140 million. Goldman Sachs manages another $160 million. Northern Trust manages the remaining $120 million. He's one of the largest individual investors under 50 in the region. The bookstore thing, Marcus said weakly. Why? I like books, I said simply. I like recommending them to customers. I like the smell of paper and ink. I don't work there for the money, I own it. I work there because I enjoy it. The same way you enjoy being CEO. Enjoyed, Marcus said bitterly. Past tense. You're going to fire me now. That depends, I said, on whether you can move forward professionally after this. How am I supposed to do that? Marcus asked. Everyone in this room just watched me call my own majority stakeholder a minimum wage worker. My career is over. Only if you make it over, Richard Chin said. The question is whether you can separate your ego from your competence. You're an effective CEO, Marcus. The numbers prove that. But your attitude toward people you perceive as beneath you is problematic. I leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. This meeting will continue. You'll finish your presentation on quarterly results, which, by the way, looked excellent from what I saw before the interruption. The board will discuss normal business. And afterward, you and I are going to have dinner. A real conversation. Maybe the first honest one we've had in years. And if I can't handle that? Marcus asked. If I can't get past this? Then we'll discuss transition plans for a new CEO, I said. But I'd prefer not to. You're good at this job, Marcus. You've grown revenue 18% quarter over quarter. You've expanded into new markets successfully. You've built a strong management team. I don't want to lose that because of your ego. Marcus stood silent for a long moment. The entire room watched him. Finally, he took a shaky breath. I apologize for disrupting the meeting. That was unprofessional. He looked at me. I apologize for the things I said. They were cruel and based on assumptions I should never have made. Accepted, I said simply. Can we? Marcus gestured at the presentation screen. Can we continue? Richard Chin nodded. Please. We have a full agenda. Marcus returned to the front of the room, visibly shaken but trying to compose himself. He advanced to the next slide, a breakdown of customer acquisition costs. His voice was steadier than I expected as he began explaining the metrics. I pulled out my phone and sent a quick message to my investment advisor at Goldman Sachs. Meeting got interesting. We'll fill you in later. Keep the Sterling Tech position unchanged for now. The response came within seconds. Understood. Bloomberg is reporting increased trading volume in tech sector. Should I adjust your Nasdaq positions? Hold steady, I typed back. We discussed this strategy last quarter. Stick to the plan. As Marcus continued his presentation, the board members gradually shifted their attention back to business matters, though I caught several glances in my direction. The woman from the venture capital firm, Jennifer Morrison, sent me a discreet thumbs up. When Marcus reached the section on R&D spending, Stephen Walsh raised a question about budget allocation for the new AI integration project. Marcus answered confidently, walking through the financial projections with the competence that had earned him the CEO position in the first place. The AI implementation should reduce processing costs by 32% in the first year, Marcus explained. Initial investment is $8.2 million, but projected savings over 3 years total $26 million. That's conservative, I spoke up from my corner. Everyone turned to look at me. The similar implementation at Cascade Networks, one of my other holdings, reduced costs by 41% in the first year. With Sterling Tech's volume, you might see even better results. Marcus blinked. You own Cascade Networks? 47%, I confirmed. We completed the AI rollout 9 months ago. I can have their CTO connect with yours to discuss lessons learned if that would help. Yes. That would be very helpful, Marcus said carefully. Richard Chin made a note. I'll coordinate that introduction. David, while we have your attention, the board has been discussing the proposed expansion into European markets. You've seen the projections. I have, I said. The market analysis looks solid, but I have concerns about the regulatory compliance timeline. The GDPR requirements for our data handling practices might need more than the 6 months allocated in the budget. A board member I didn't recognize looked impressed. You've reviewed the European expansion proposal in detail? David reviews every major strategic initiative, Richard said. He may not attend every meeting, but he reads every document and provides written feedback to the board. Usually at 2 in the morning, Jennifer Morrison added with a smile. He sends the most detailed analysis emails in the middle of the night. I have insomnia, I explained. Might as well do something productive. Marcus had been quiet, absorbing all of this. Now he spoke up. How long have you been involved in the day-to-day strategy discussions? Since the beginning, I said. Richard forwards me all board materials. I provide input on major decisions. When you wanted to acquire TechServe Solutions last year, I was the one who suggested the counteroffer that eventually closed the deal. That was you. Marcus looked stunned. The board told me it was a strategic advisor. I am a strategic advisor, I said. I'm just also your brother. The meeting continued for another 90 minutes. Marcus completed his presentation, the board discussed several operational matters and various committees reported on their activities. Through it all, Marcus seemed to be processing everything, his earlier arrogance replaced by something more thoughtful. When Richard Chin finally adjourned the meeting, the board members began gathering their materials. Several approached me directly. David, we should schedule time to discuss your thoughts on the European expansion, one said. I'm meeting with the CFO next week to review the venture fund allocations, Stephen Walsh added. Should I include you in that conversation? Send me the agenda, I said. I'll let you know. Jennifer Morrison waited until the others had left before approaching. That was uncomfortable to watch. I'm sorry you had to experience that. It needed to happen, I said. Better now than later. Marcus stood at the front of the room, staring at the now blank presentation screen. I walked over to him. "You were serious about dinner?" he asked quietly. "Completely serious." "I don't understand you," Marcus said. "You have $400 million. You could live anywhere, do anything. But you work at a bookstore and wear Target jeans to shareholders' meetings." "The jeans are comfortable," I said. "And I like my life. Money doesn't mean I have to change who I am." "But I treated you like you were nobody," Marcus said, his voice breaking slightly. "For years. And you just let me." "You're my brother," I said simply. "I wanted you to figure it out on your own. To see that success comes in different forms, that appearances aren't everything. But you were so convinced of your own narrative that you couldn't see anything else. The things I said about Dad." Marcus trailed off. "Were probably true," I finished. "Dad did think you were the successful one. He valued traditional markers of achievement, titles, corner offices, expensive suits. He never understood that I was happy with my choices." "Are you?" Marcus asked. "Happy?" "Very," I said. "I read books I love. I invest in companies I find interesting. I live comfortably but not ostentatiously. I have everything I need." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "I have a $3 million house, a Ferrari, and a boat I've used twice. And I've been miserable trying to maintain the image of having all of it." "The house has a massive mortgage," I said. "I saw the financials when you applied for the loan through Northern Trust, one of my banks. The Ferrari lease is costing you $4,000 a month. And the boat, well, boats are money pits. You know about all of that?" "I'm a major investor in multiple financial institutions," I said. "Part of my due diligence is understanding the financial health of key executives in my portfolio companies. I need to know if my CEO is financially stable or if personal debt might affect business judgment." "That's terrifying," Marcus said. "It's practical," I corrected. "And for the record, I'm not concerned about your finances affecting your job performance. You live above your means but you're managing it. Though you might want to sell the boat." "I'll sell the boat," Marcus agreed weakly. We walked to the elevator together. As the doors closed, Marcus spoke again. "Why did you really come to the meeting today? You could have kept everything secret. Let me keep thinking I was the successful brother." "Because it was time," I said. "You were becoming someone I didn't recognize anymore. The Marcus I grew up with was ambitious, sure, but he wasn't cruel. He didn't mock people for their jobs or their income. Dad's influence did that to you, made you think success was about looking down on others." "I really am sorry," Marcus said. "For all of it." "I know," I said. "Now you have to decide who you want to be moving forward. The CEO who values everyone regardless of their position, or the one who just had to learn a very public lesson about assumptions." The elevator reached the ground floor. As we stepped out into the lobby, Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his face went pale. "What?" I asked. "Message from the board secretary," he said. "Reminder that I have a company town hall scheduled for this afternoon. 300 employees expecting an update on quarterly performance. So tell them about the excellent quarterly results," I said. "After what just happened?" Marcus looked panicked. "Word is going to get out. Someone in that meeting will talk. By this afternoon, the entire company will know I didn't even recognize my own majority stakeholder." "Probably," I agreed. "So address it directly. Tell them what happened and what you learned from it. Transparency and honesty are powerful leadership tools." "I can't do that," Marcus said. "Then you're not ready to be CEO," I said bluntly. "Real leadership means admitting mistakes and showing people you can grow from them. Otherwise, you're just performing leadership, not actually doing it." Marcus stared at me. "When did you become so wise?" "When I stopped caring about what people thought of my Target jeans," I said. "Do the town hall, Marcus. Be honest. Show them the CEO you're capable of being." We walked outside into the bright afternoon sun. Marcus's Tesla was parked in the executive spot near the entrance. My 10-year-old Honda Civic was in the public garage 3 blocks away. "Let me give you a ride to your car," Marcus offered. "I'll walk," I said. "It's a nice day." "David," Marcus said as I turned to go. "Thank you. For not destroying me in there. You could have. You had every right to. You're my brother," I said again. "I want you to succeed. I just needed you to understand that success isn't about putting other people down to lift yourself up." I walked away, leaving Marcus standing beside his Tesla. My phone buzzed. A message from Richard Chin. That was either the best or worst board meeting we've ever had. Unclear which. We'll call later to discuss next steps. I smiled and pocketed the phone. 3 blocks away I reached my Civic, climbed in and drove to the bookstore. I had a shift starting in an hour and Tuesday afternoons were always busy. When I arrived, my store manager, Patricia, was rearranging the mystery section. "How was your meeting?" she asked. "Eventful," I said, grabbing my name tag from behind the counter. "My brother found out I own the company he runs." Patricia laughed. "How'd he take it?" "About as well as you'd expect." "Does this mean you'll finally stop pretending you need to work retail shifts?" she asked. "I've been telling you for years you don't have to be here every Tuesday." "I like Tuesdays," I said. "Besides, Mrs. Chin is coming in for her monthly book club picks. She trusts my recommendations." "You're a very strange multimillionaire," Patricia said, shaking her head. "I prefer to think of myself as a well-read investor," I corrected, and went to help Mrs. Chin select her next month's reading list. That evening I had dinner with Marcus at a quiet restaurant far from the downtown business district. He looked exhausted. "The town hall went well," he said. "I told them everything. What happened, what I said, what I learned. They appreciated the honesty." "Good," I said. "I also told them about you," Marcus continued. "Who you really are. What you've done for the company." Some of them already knew. The CFO admitted he's known for years. But most were surprised. "How did they react?" "They wanted to know if you were going to start being more involved in daily operations," Marcus said. "I told them you preferred to work through the board and executive team." "That's accurate," I confirmed. Marcus set down his menu. "I need to ask you something and I need you to be honest. Are you going to replace me as CEO?" I considered the question carefully. "Do you want to continue being CEO?" "Yes," Marcus said immediately. "Despite everything, or maybe because of everything, yes. I love the job. I'm good at it. I just need to be better at remembering that my position doesn't make me better than anyone else." "Then I have no intention of replacing you," I said. "But I need your commitment that today represents a genuine change, not just temporary embarrassment." "You have it," Marcus said firmly. "I promise you what happened today will never happen again." "Good," I said. "Because Sterling Tech is about to get a lot more interesting." "What do you mean?" I smiled. "That European expansion the board discussed? I'm approving an additional $40 million in funding. And I'm bringing in 2 other portfolio companies for strategic partnerships that should triple our market penetration within 18 months. Marcus's eyes widened. $40 million. Just like that. Just like that, I confirmed. I believe in the company's potential. More importantly, I believe in your ability to execute the vision. Assuming you can get past seeing people's bank accounts instead of their capabilities. "I can," Marcus said. "I will." We ordered dinner and talked for 3 hours. Really talked, perhaps for the first time in a decade. Marcus told me about the pressures of maintaining his image, the constant anxiety about whether he was successful enough, impressive enough, wealthy enough. I told him about the freedom that came from not caring about any of those things, from defining success on my own terms. $420 million, Marcus said at one point, shaking his head. "And you drive a Civic." "It's reliable," I said. "Gets good gas mileage. Hasn't broken down in 10 years. I'm paying $4,000 a month to lease a Ferrari I'm terrified to drive because I might scratch it," Marcus said. "And you're paying maybe $300 a month for insurance on a car you actually use." "Probably less than that," I said. "Civics are cheap to insure." Marcus laughed. A real laugh, not the performative executive chuckle I'd heard at the meeting. "I've been an idiot." "You've been trapped in a narrative," I corrected. "Dad's narrative about what success looks like. But you can write a new story now." "Starting with selling that boat," Marcus said. "Starting with selling the boat," I agreed. We finished dinner and walked out to the parking lot. Marcus stopped beside his Tesla. "Same time next month?" he asked. "Dinner, I mean. Not a hostile shareholders meeting." "Same time next month," I confirmed. I drove home to my modest apartment, parked in my assigned spot and climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor. Inside, I made tea and settled onto my couch with the new historical fiction novel I'd been excited to read. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Marcus. Thank you for today. For everything. For believing in me even when I didn't deserve it. I won't let you down. I typed back, you never let me down. You just lost sight of what mattered. Glad you found your way back. I set the phone aside and opened my book. Outside my window, the city lights twinkled in the darkness. Somewhere out there, Marcus was probably in his $3 million house, maybe looking at boat listings to see what he could sell it for. Tomorrow he'd go back to being CEO, but hopefully a different kind of CEO than he'd been before. And I'd go back to my bookstore, recommending novels to customers and managing a $400 million portfolio between helping people find their next favorite read. It was a good life. A quiet life. A successful life by the only measure that really mattered. I was happy with it. And that, I thought as I settled in to read, was worth more than all the Italian suits and German cars in the world.